Welcome back. You tuned into the Talking Point with me, your host Mariam Mia, and now let's welcome Dr. Faisal Suiliman, Chairman of South African Muslim Network, regarding the bursaries they are offering.
Uh,
Assalamu alaikum, Brother Faisal.
Ji, walaikum salam.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm just going to give you a moment to just get to where you need to be. But in the meantime, I just
I'm back.
want
I'm
to.
fine. We can carry on.
Okay, we can carry on. So I know your organization are one of the organizations that are committed to skill development as well as creating opportunities for young South Africans so that they, in turn, in a few years' time, can become positive contributing members in society and hence investment in bursaries. Because for me, supporting students through their studies and allowing them to actually um, become contributing members in society in the desired careers or vocations they choose, and that is one of the ways where you grow societies, and that will give us an indication in terms of where our country is heading in terms of even economic growth. Is when we empower our youth to get educated, to get vocations where they will have opportunities to contribute positively to South African societies. Is that precisely why bursaries? That is one fear of your organization, where you are strongly in terms of supporting learners financially through the education, tertiary education.
Yes, Jazakallah for the opportunity. Yes, so I wear two hats as far as bursaries go. The first is as the chairman of SAMNET, we have a media and journalism and related sort of studies bursary. At this stage, we have predominantly only Zakah funds. Inshallah, we will get donations, and our appeal is to both then, to donors, and but more importantly, to learners. So the SAMNET specifically concentrates on there's a dire need for people like yourselves to work in both mainstream and Islamic media, print, online, whatever form it is, of having journalists, broadcasters, filmmakers, documentary makers. Alhamdulillah, we've been doing this for many years. We've had quite a few of our graduates who are now working in the media field, and we specifically concentrate on that because that is, I believe, there's a gross shortage of bursaries towards that. So the SAMNET bursary is specifically for journalism, for media studies, political science at university, and media related to that. Communications, if it's specific towards media, perhaps we would consider, and otherwise we would be more inclined towards something that's going in that field. I also wear a hat as the treasurer of the Islamic Medical Association. Of the Islamic Medical Association, we are giving out bursaries for all the health sciences disciplines. Of course, it has to be a recognized discipline. As long as it's recognized by the HPCSA, then barring again, same thing depending on funding, we would be happy to fund students who can't. So in both cases, clearly IMA towards health sciences, the SAMNET towards journalism and political science and media studies. To answer the question you asked earlier, our attitude is to help. You must give us a reason to say no. I mean, that is what people contribute funds towards. It is not to waste funds. It is not to shirk the responsibility of the amanat we have, particularly with zakah. The strict criteria, and we follow that. But if you're eligible, both from the point of view of your choice of field of study, your marks, and financially eligible, then we are inclined to say yes more than we are to say no, providing, of course, we have the funds and you meet the criteria. Mariam, today even sometimes two parents working cannot afford the 70,000 rand or 60,000 rand it costs to study at university in some cases. Sometimes it's 40 or 50,000, and you may have some two parents both working, but by the time you pay the cost of living, if you have a bond, motor vehicle, all of these expenses, food, children in school, even sometimes a joint income of 30,000 rand a month doesn't allow you to spend another 60,000 on a student. So as long as there are proper financial criteria, our attitude is not that you have to be, your house must be empty of possessions, etc. Allah has made this provision of zakah. It's not a dirty word. Zakah is not something that you restrict to someone who's on the streets and begging and no home and that sort of thing. Uh, to answer your question, that is the way we strict on those criteria, but provided you give us the right documentation, in terms of parent salaries, breakdown of finances, and we can see that your parents can't afford to feed you, to pay for your fees rather. NSFAS, in many cases, there's a bit of politics involved, often for whatever reason, ineptitude, politics, wrong race, etc. People don't get NSFAS funding, and we can see a proper application for NSFAS that hasn't been successful. We would consider funding if we have the money. The idea is to distribute this money responsibly, but to give it towards its purpose and what the donors have given it for, not to sit with it, not to hoard the money. It's to help.
So, when you're saying this, and you've brought up a salient point there, that because sometimes, you know what, society, I mean, I always say the court of public opinion and the court of public judgment here. As you've rightly said, parents can be working, but at the same time, they don't have excess funds. So they're working just as bread and butter issues, to pay rent, to put food on the table, to send other siblings to school. But then often paying university fees is seen as a luxury, and hence once you leave matric, you are often then told to get a job to assist with providing for family, and that post matriculant is then deprived an opportunity due to financial constraints. So I'm glad you brought this up, because sometimes you see learners applying for bursaries and comments are made, but this parent, both the parents are working. But and I'm glad that whoever sits on your board looks at the broader picture and a wider view. The other thing is there, for the bursaries that are offered by SAMNET as well as Islamic Medical Association, can you apply for a partial bursary to say, look, my parents can afford the deposit, and
Yes,
maybe they can afford
absolutely.
two subjects. So we're asking you that I'm short here on maybe for my books. I'm short for resources or something like that, equipment or that. Is there a exception made for like maybe partial things?
Yes. Again, it is zakah. We have to be strict in terms of that. But you show us both your parents' pay slips, your bank statements, the income and expenditure, your fees. We're not silly. All of us working, all of us have children. We understand the cost of living. We're not going to be frivolous with the responsibility we have, but at the same time, we're not going to deny somebody that genuinely meets the criteria and is in need. The idea is and that is the confidence donors must also have, that when we give money to SAMNET or to the Islamic Medical Association, or frankly to any other body that is doing good work, that it will be, it won't be hoarded. It'll be used correctly, dispersed, with the Sharia in mind, but at the same time, not withheld unreasonably. The idea is not to withhold the money unreasonably. It is to look at the criteria, and if you meet it, that is what it's there for. It is to help. And yes, we have students who've had partial NSFAS funding. We've had students who've shown that the family can help so much, or the family can assist only with there's some students we only helping them with transport money, because that's all they need in such dire situation that they may have had NSFAS, but they just cannot. And we see it from the family situation. So yes, we like I said, we're responsible, but we are not there to deny an eligible person when we have the funds. We don't have the funds is a different situation.
And then, besides looking at, financial verification to see that certain students qualify for certain fields of study in bursary, how do you go about interviewing a student to see, that this field of study, this person has the correct aptitude for this field of study? Because sometimes people don't have uh, adequate career
Yeah.
counseling and advice. So, and also parents might not be in that field or knowledgeable to say, so a child, here's, this, because for me, as a career counselor as well, when I see somebody stuck in second year or third year and they say, this path of study is not for me, I didn't know better. And then I always ask the question, and why did you choose this subject or this field of study, or why did you go in commerce when your
Yeah.
aptitude shows you are more a person for humanities? So do you offer some pre counseling and that to see that this learner has the correct aptitude of this? Because when I asked few of them, some of them told me, what, it was the money, because we've seen this career in those that are maybe high CEOs of company in it, they studied this, they're living a good life. So a lot of times I see
Yeah.
learners that are informed by
Mariam,
finances, and
oh,
the,
yeah,
the promise of a lot of money. So is there some
yeah.
career counseling that you can offer as support, so that what, you sure that this is the field of study that this learner has an aptitude for, and also has decided this is really what I have a passion for, so passion and aptitude.
Okay. So at SAMNET, we have a bursary committee, myself and two or sometimes three other people who go through all the applications. And then we do, when it's in Durban physical, but most of the time it has been in the past telephonic or now on with the people, and try and get a sense of the person from there. And look, journalism is a very specific, media, political science, a very specific field. So it's not something someone decides, okay, I want to do it because I'm going to get a lot of money. It's not associated generally. I think you can earn a decent living from it. Like everything else, if you're a poor doctor or a poor lawyer or a poor accountant or a poor engineer, and if you're a good one, there'll be a difference in your income and your career. And similarly, it'll apply to any other profession. So we do that at the IMA. The IMA, initially, we have our Baitul Nur Trust. We have a well-experienced social worker and our accountant, etc., who go through all the applications, will then speak to the person and try and assess from there. Clearly, medicine is often, maybe not so much in the present, but in the past, medicine was seen as a possibly lucrative career. I think there are much more lucrative and less stressful careers now than medicine.
Dr.
But
Faisal, chefs are making more money. Some chefs are making more money than doctors
no,
nowadays. So,
absolutely.
as you
I
say,
know.
it's
after
changed.
after 30 years as a doctor, I know that very well now. So we try and have an idea of that. But Mariam, like everything else, very often it may take them a year or two sometimes, to really find out what they thought, what they thought they liked dentistry, and after 1 year of dentistry or 1 year of whatever, may find that it's not for them. So yes, I think it behoves the applicants themselves, because of the time and the effort and the wastage of money. If you just and then want to swap, but there are many people who really think they like it and they want to do it, and may only find out afterwards after a year or two. It's a terrible waste. One can't deny that, but it's really very hard right at the outset, to make a call just by speaking to someone, and then to do what you're suggesting, research. Internet, there's plenty of information. See a career counselor, industrial psychologist, if needs be, to help them with dropouts. Very hard to predict right at the outside. Our intentions are correct when we give those bursaries, whichever organization, and I'm sure it applies to other organizations. No one intentionally gives someone who you think is going to be a dropout or fail, but circumstances change. People, often you may get it wrong, but generally, most people who start medicine, I think, generally, to get in the first place, you would have had to work very hard, get extremely good results. So most of the time people hang in there. But yes, you will have the odd one that either drops out or decides to change career. I don't think you can predict that, anytime in matric or first year.
So, Dr. Faisal, when should one, if your financial circumstances, or your parents make it known that what, you're studying and that, but we have this constraint here that financially we don't have the funds to pay for your tertiary education. So when is it ideally that one should start applying for these various bursaries, be it in the health sciences field or be it in the field of media studies? Do I apply after I got my results, do I start maybe in grade 11? Because remember, in matric, that first 3 months, you need to apply and put in your applications at various universities in it. So when would you say it's the optimum time to start applying for bursary? Because come January 2023, you decide you got accepted. Now you're saying I got accepted, but we don't have funds for the deposit. Trying to collect, pull together resources in it to actually pay the deposit for studying. So you don't want to be caught later. So when should one, as a student or even as a family, decide and start applying for a bursary?
Look, ideally, I would imagine, sort of in those June holidays of matric, or those trial around the trial times that matric do that. You should have already started thinking about this and starting to have a plan. I should say we're working on it at the moment, but in the past, SAMNET has always released. We try and source bursaries. This is just on the side. In the past, we've always compiled a list of every organization that is giving a bursary, and we've sent it out to the public. Whatever field. This is an unrestricted bursary from whoever's giving bursaries, and we've tried to make that, make students' lives easy by making that list public. So as we get information, however we get it, and we see it on other chats or searching the internet, etc. Inshallah, we will do that this year as well and make it available to the public and send it out to media people like yourselves. But coming back, look, I think ideally, if you know your financial circumstances are great, you need to start having the conversation at home, probably, around June, July in matric. Now, of course, it's exam time, and we would want students to be concentrating on that. But I think the moment exams are over, most of the time you kind of know where you are with your marks. If you're an A candidate and you're applying for, a field of studies, whatever it may be, that needs 6 and 7 A's, you kind of know where you are. And you needed to start having then immediately, I would say, after the matric exams or your university exams, start getting on with that. Most organizations, including us, will start opening our applications probably around the 1st of December. And we know, obviously, you have to wait for results, you have to wait for placement. And very often, you may think you got the fees covered, but then you find you get placed in a university out of your town. So now you suddenly have to make provision for boarding fees or for residence fees, and that can be quite a substantial amount of money. So that becomes a new challenge. So there, it's out of the hands of the student if they from Johannesburg and get placed in Durban or Cape Town, wherever else, away from those jacarandas of yours. But so that'll bring on a new challenge. And in our case, we've said that we generally will keep the applications open until about mid-February, because very often placements come very late. And the idea is not to punish students. It's not to say, well, our cutoff was 31st is January, when we know placements may come late. Our idea is to help. Of course, it doesn't. You don't want to having applications in March, because it doesn't help your budgeting process. But clearly, the earlier you get, you first in the line. Most organizations have limited resources, and it's often on a first come first serve. If we have a budget that can say we can afford 4 students, and we allocate those 4, a fantastic application may come in much later on. But if there's no more budget, you can't give what you don't have. So it makes sense, if you know where you are, to start applying. If it's health sciences, then look at the IMA, look at the other organization. If it's media journalism that SAMNET does, apply there. It's always better to get in early. And then, of course, your application is in, and as you get your results and etc., you can then start submitting that as well. And in both organizations, you go to the website. With SAMNET, it's info@samnet.co.za. The IMA has a website. All information is there. You contact the Durban office of the IMA, where the Beitul Noor Trust is housed, and you'll get the information and the applications form from them.
So indeed, shukran for all the advice you gave us in terms of bursaries. And you know what, as somebody at Salam Media, that I'd like to acknowledge all organizations that actually provide this opportunity to families, because you educate one member of family, it spreads out. It's a positive ripple effect to an entire family, an entire community, because if through your efforts of a bursary somebody becomes a doctor serving in that community now, it uplifts that community, an educator, even somebody who we've created in the media, because that person is now a reporter who can then be a voice for those that are marginalized, or even amplify those voices. So it's sterling work, and I'm so proud we have many Muslim organizations that do this. And for those that want to get involved, please, we all pay our zakat. So maybe see, I mean, you're using your zakat, use your zakat for an empowerment a project, and providing bursaries for those that can't afford is truly, truly an empowering project that leaves a legacy. So, Lamna, I mean, your zakat is your farz. You have to do this, but now you're giving an opportunity, and you're also leaving a legacy there. So, inshallah, for those of you that are paying zakat, perhaps uh, from the zakat amount that zakatable, please consider donating it towards bursaries for students. And if you want, I mean, SAMNET as well as Islamic Medical Association have a good bursary program there, where all the checks and balances and all the screening is done adequately. So please, I appeal to all of you. You are paying your zakat every year. Consider donating it to a bursary scheme that is managed by a reputable board of directors and trustees, so that alhamdulillah we make a positive contribution, because Islam, alhamdulillah, is the perfect way of life, even when it comes now to affording those an opportunity to study. So jazakallah, I know we're going to speak to you in the future on many, many other topics, because as you've said, Dr. Faisal Suleiman wears many, many hats. So inshallah, we will engage on other things. Just as you were speaking, I listed about 3 or 4 other topics that I'd like to discuss and get you on air. So
Inshallah.
please,
Thank you so much.
shukran for your time, and I'll let you get
Thank
back
you.
to your patients now. Assalamu
Thank you for
alaikum.
having us. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam. We're going to go for a short break. And then on the topic of education, yes, we are speaking about a lucrative business of assignment selling and assignment buying. They say willing buyer, willing seller. But is this ethical? All this after the break.